The hidden cost of high intelligence * Daniel Crawford was 59 years old when he realized that being smart had cost him almost everything that mattered. He was sitting alone in his immaculate house, surrounded by books and awards and achievements, when the thought struck him like a physical blow. He had been intelligent his entire life. Gifted, they had called him brilliant. His professors had said, a genius, his colleagues whispered. But he had never learned how to be happy. Daniel had been reading. By age 3, doing calculus at 10, graduating college at 16. He had earned his PhD at 20 and spent the next 13 years as a research physicist, making contributions to his field that most people could not begin to understand. His mind was extraordinary, but his life was lonely, because high intelligence comes with costs that no one talks about. Daniel had learned this slowly over 6 decades. He had learned that being the smartest person in the room often meant being the loneliest. That seeing patterns others missed meant constantly anticipating problems that never materialized. That understanding things deeply meant struggling to connect with people who thought differently. He had learned that his mind, which had been called his greatest gift, had also become his greatest barrier. To connection, to intimacy, to the simple pleasure of not overthinking everything. Daniel's ex-wife Margaret had tried to explain this to him during their divorce 15 years ago. You think your way out of every feeling, she had said with tears in her eyes. You analyze everything until there is nothing left but data. He had not understood what she meant. Or rather, he had understood intellectually but not emotionally. Which was precisely her point. Daniel had a son named Peter who was now 32. They spoke once a month in calls that were polite but distant. Peter had grown up with a father whose love was expressed through teaching and problem-solving. Never through the simple physical affection that children need. Daniel had read books about parenting, had understood the theory of attachment and emotional development. But knowing something intellectually and being able to do it were different things. You were always in your head, Dad, Peter had told him once, even when you were sitting right next to me. Daniel knew this was true. His mind was always working. Always analyzing, always 3 steps ahead. It was exhausting for him. And even more exhausting for the people who tried to love him. One Tuesday afternoon, Daniel's colleague, Dr. Raymond Foster, stopped by his office. Ray was 61 and had recently announced his retirement. I am done, Danny Ray said with a smile. 40 years is enough. Daniel felt a stab of something he could not quite name. What will you do? Live. Ray said simply, spend time with my grandchildren. Travel, read books that have nothing to do with physics. That sounds... Daniel paused. Nice. Ray looked at him with understanding. You could do the same, you know. I am only 59. I am not talking about age, Ray said gently. I am talking about learning to turn your brain off sometimes. After Ray left, Daniel sat in his office thinking about what his colleague had said. We're turning his brain off. He had never been able to do that even. As a child, he had been unable to stop thinking. Unable to quiet the constant analysis, the endless questions, the need to understand everything. Teachers had praised this quality, called it curiosity and intellectual rigor. But Daniel's mother had worried. He never just plays, she had told his father. He is always trying to figure out how things work. Daniel remembered being 7 years old and realizing that other children were different. They seemed content with simple explanations, content. To not know things, content. To just exist without constantly questioning, Daniel had never been content with any of those things, and it had made him brilliant, but it had also made him deeply lonely. That evening, Daniel did something unusual. He went to a coffee shop instead of going straight home. He sat with a cup of coffee he did not really want and watched people. A young couple holding hands. An older woman reading a paperback romance, a group of teenagers laughing over their phones. They all seemed so comfortable with not thinking too hard. With just being. Daniel had never learned that skill. His phone rang. It was his son Peter. Hey. Dad just calling to check in asterisk. They talked for a few minutes about Peter's work and his wife and the baby they were expecting asterisk. Daniel offered advice about childcare research and developmental milestones. Asterisk. There was a pause, asterisk. Dad can. I ask you something, of course. Do you ever just say how you feel without analyzing it first? Asterisk. Daniel opened his mouth to respond and realized he did not know how to answer asterisk. I do not think. I know what you mean, Peter sighed. That is what I thought. Asterisk. Peter, the first Daniel stopped. I am not sure what you want from me, asterisk. I want to know if you are happy, Peter. Said not if you think you should be happy, or if happiness is a reasonable state given your circumstances, but if you actually feel happy. Daniel sat with this question. Was he happy, asterisk? He had accomplished everything he had set out to accomplish, asterisk. He had made significant contributions to his field, asterisk. He had financial security. He had his health. Should be happy. But was he? I do not know, he said. Finally, asterisk. That is what worries me, Peter replied gently. I do not want my kid to grow up with a grandfather who was brilliant but miserable, asterisk, after they hung up. Daniel sat in the coffee shop for a long time. Asterisk. The truth was settling over him like a heavy blanket, asterisk. He was miserable not in an acute way, but in the chronic way of someone who had spent 60 years living in their head instead of their life, asterisk. He had optimized everything: his career, his finances, his health. But he had never learned how to simply be present, asterisk, to experience joy without analyzing it, asterisk, to love without trying to understand it, asterisk, to live without constant self-monitoring, asterisk. The next week, Daniel made an appointment with her name was Dr. Ellen Walsh, and she was in her late 60s with kind eyes, asterisk. What brings you here, she asked. Daniel considered lying, saying something about stress or work life. Balance, but instead he told the truth. I think my intelligence has ruined my life, asterisk, doctor. Walsh nodded, as if this was not an unusual statement. Asterisk. Tell me more. Daniel talked for the entire session. It's about the loneliness of always being the smartest person in the room, about the exhaustion of constant analysis, about the way his mind had become a prison, about how he had achieved everything except connection. High intelligence is often celebrated, doctor, Walsh said, but rarely understood. What do you mean? People assume it is an unalloyed gift, she explained, but it comes with significant challenges. She talked about emotional regulation, about how highly intelligent people often struggle to turn off their analytical minds, about how this interferes with emotional connection. You have spent your life in your prefrontal cortex, she said, and neglected your limbic system. I need to feel more and think less. That is an oversimplification, Dr. Walsh said, but essentially yes, asterisk, over the following months. Daniel worked on what felt impossible, asterisk, learning to be present. He started with small things: eating a meal without reading, taking a walk without solving problems, sitting quietly without planning. It was incredibly difficult. His mind rebelled against the stillness, asterisk. But slowly he began to notice things he had missed for 60 years, asterisk, the way morning light looked through leaves, asterisk, the pleasure of cold water on a hot day, asterisk, the comfort of sitting in silence, asterisk. He called Peter more often. Instead of offering advice, he tried something new. Tell me about your day, he said. Peter sounded surprised. My day, yes, just tell me what happened. So Peter talked about ordinary things, asterisk, work. Frustration's a funny thing, his wife said, worries about becoming a father, asterisk. And Daniel just listened, did not try to fix or analyze or optimize, just listened, asterisk. This is nice, Dad, Peter said, just talking. Yes, Daniel agreed. It is. Daniel also started attending a book club at the library, asterisk, not an academic book club, but a regular one where people read popular novels and talked about them, asterisk. At first he struggled not to analyze the literary techniques or critique the plot structure, asterisk, but gradually he learned to simply enjoy the stories and, more importantly, to enjoy the other people. There was Martha, who loved romance novels, asterisk, and George, who only read mysteries, asterisk, and Susan, who cried at everything. They were not intellectuals, but they were kind, asterisk, and funny and present in a way Daniel had never learned to be. One evening after book club, Martha asked if Daniel wanted to get coffee, asterisk. He said yes without overthinking it. They sat in the same coffee shop where Daniel had his revelation months ago. Martha talked about her grandchildren, asterisk, about her late husband, about her garden. Simple things, uncomplicated things. You are very quiet, Martha observed. Asterisk, I am listening. Daniel said, asterisk, that is nice. She smiled. Most people are just waiting for their turn to talk. Daniel realized he had been one of those people, always so focused on what he would say next that he never actually heard what others were saying. Asterisk, I am trying to be better at this, he admitted. Asterisk, at what? At being present with people. Martha nodded. That is a good thing to work on. They started having coffee regularly. Asterisk. Martha did not care about Daniel's research or his achievements. Asterisk. She just enjoyed his company. It was revolutionary. To be valued not for his mind but simply for himself. Asterisk. Daniel's grandson was born in March. Asterisk. A healthy baby boy named Thomas. Asterisk. When Peter called with the news, Daniel felt something unexpected, pure joy, not analyzed or qualified. Asterisk. Just simple happiness. Asterisk. Congratulations, he said with tears in his eyes. Asterisk. Thanks, Dad. Peter said, when can you come meet him? Daniel took a week off, work, something he had rarely done in his entire career. Asterisk. He flew to where? Peter lived and spent the days holding his grandson, not reading parenting research, not offering advice. Asterisk. Just holding him. Asterisk. You are good at this, Peter's wife said with surprise. Am I? Yeah, you are just present, not trying to optimize everything I am working on. That we noticed, Peter said. And we appreciate it. Asterisk. Daniel looked at his son holding this new life. I am sorry, he said suddenly. For what? Asterisk. For not being present when you were growing up, for always being in my head. Peter was quiet for a moment. I appreciate you saying that. I am trying to be better. I can see that, Peter said. And it is never too late, Dad. Asterisk. On the flight home, Daniel thought about what Peter had said. It is never too late. Daniel was 59 years old. Asterisk. He had spent most of his life trapped in the brilliance of his own mind. Asterisk. Missing the simple human connections that make life meaningful. His intelligence had given him so much achievement, recognition, financial security. Asterisk. But it had also cost him his marriage, his relationship with his son. His ability to simply be. The hidden cost of high intelligence was isolation, was the inability to turn off the constant analysis, was missing life while trying to understand it. But Daniel was learning to think less and feel more, learning to be present instead of 3 steps ahead, learning that wisdom was not just about understanding. Asterisk, but about knowing when to stop trying to understand. This is a story about the price of brilliance, about how the mind that opens doors can also build walls. Asterisk. About learning late in life what should have been learned early. That connection matters more than achievement. That presence is more valuable than analysis. Asterisk. That sometimes the smartest thing you can do is stop thinking Daniel would always be intelligent. That could not be changed. Asterisk. But he was learning too. Let his intelligence serve his life, instead of his life serving his intelligence. And in doing so, he was finally becoming not just brilliant. Asterisk, but whole.